What is that? What are they, number one? And what's the impact in these financial types of discussions and getting folks on this pathway that you talk about?
Yeah, it's crazy that they're there, right? But they're with conversations with money, just like they are with everything else. So criticism is considered the first one. You don't think of these as happening in order necessarily. The second one is called contempt, and that is criticism on steroids. So you've gotten to kind of a moral superiority, rolling eyes, sarcasm, that kind of thing. Very hurtful. Yeah. Defensiveness. And, defensiveness is going to raise its head if there's any criticism. And of course, if there's contempt. And then final shutdown, which is actually called stonewalling in the Gottman language. So on that pathway, we use that language to sort of have that common language and be able to see, oh my gosh, that I just did that. That was defensiveness. And then we can, just that awareness can kind of help you shift.
I'm Julie Bulitt. I've been a family therapist for over 30 years.
I'm David Bulitt. I've been a divorce and family lawyer for more than 35 years.
Together, we have been married for more than 37 years.
In our professional practices, the two of us have been witnesses to individuals and families struggling with life's most difficult challenges. In this podcast, we will talk about the conversations we have had,
the conversations we should have had,
and those that every relationship needs to have in order to find success, happiness, and fulfillment.
This is Conversations for Couples,
the podcast. Welcome back to Conversations for Couples,
the podcast.
So one of the big problems that couples face, and we've talked a lot about it. We talked about it in our book. We've talked about it ourselves. We had our own problems, is in the area of finances. We dedicated a whole section to conflicts around finances that couples see, hear, and feel in their relationship. And we're here today with someone who's going to help us talk about how to navigate those little minefields that we all deal with in the financial arena. Dee Zimmerman helps couples talk about money without fights so that they can manage their money together and, most importantly, manage it peacefully. In her work blends the Gottman-informed communication tools with practical financial strategies, all designed to reduce stress, get on the same page, and yes, something we all want, build wealth. Welcome aboard, Dee.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you
really
for that intro.
you.
That explains it quite well.
Yeah, I'm a good intro guy. That's why Julie lets me do it all the time.
Yeah.
She asks the good questions. I do the intros. But
It takes
we're really happy to have you.
Partnership.
Let's start with I guess from the top down. Why is it so difficult for couples to talk about money?
Yeah. I think it's difficult because we grew up in different families. And I think we're surprised by that when we come into a marriage. We don't realize that impacts money, our perspective on money. We might think it impacts our perspective or our way of communication, maybe other things, but I think we're taken by surprise. When we try to work out money, we're like, what? It's emotional? You don't look at it the same way that I do, and we don't, because it is a language, so to speak, money is, and it just touches so many things. And we learn different things about it growing up, and it's really rare to come in with the same perspectives on money in a marriage.
Yeah, some people are savers, some people are spenders. Folks may have come to a marriage where they've had plenty of resources, never really had a need for anything, right? Whereas someone else, had to go to work at 14 or 15 with a work permit at the local ice cream shop, raising money.
It's going to shape you.
To make some money to help, pay for things that they want. And that in and of itself causes some degree of difference and conflict, I assume.
Right. And managing money is not that. I mean, it can be simple. I try to make it simple with the people that I work with, but we also have different ways of processing information, of organizing things in our minds. And that we apply that then to how we manage money. And if our partner does it very differently, that can cause a lot of anxiety or a lot of confusion, frustration. So just our natural money wiring as well. That's kind of what I call it. In my work is money roots. We just talked about that, and money wiring. So
Yeah. So give us an example of, a couple comes in to your office or you're meeting with a couple for the first time. And it sounds like you sort of start with the concept that you were raised in different, places, and you may have different definitions or ideas of what money looks like or how it serves you or those kinds of things. So after you kind of present that information, what other areas do you try to, get couples to think about?
yeah, so that is one of the first things that we do is look at those money roots, right? Ask lots of questions, kind of walk through money scripts to see what resonate with them. What kind of scripts are they still walking around with money? Dreams is another thing. I help. So we really start with building awareness in the beginning. We don't just jump into the numbers and practical strategies yet, but really build awareness. So, yeah, that's another thing would be dreams. Helping couples learn to talk about their dreams again. Sometimes we have abandoned our dreams because of maybe money decisions that we've made that we regret. We might think that we can't dream again. We don't deserve to be dreaming, to have those dreams alive anymore. And we may not really understand what our spouse's dreams are. And so I walk them through that and help them to have those conversations again about dreams. But the tricky thing is that I have found is they will try to have the conversations about dreams, but they'll immediately jump in with some kind of qualification or judgment of that. Oh, well, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not practical. Well, how do you expect to have that happen? If patterns have not been that positive when they've talked about money.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of the first things that we do is, as part of that awareness, is to learn how to talk about money again
Mm-hmm.
with curiosity.
Yeah, I love that. We
Yeah.
talk about curiosity in relationships and that being a key
Yeah.
factor in really communicating, perspective taking, and talking to each other. So I love that you brought that up. So one of the things, and this is like a personal example that David
Here
and
we
I
go.
that David and I went through early on in our relationship was we both we read this book called The Secret. I don't know if you know that book
I don't
or
think I do.
okay,
It's better that you don't.
it's an older book, and it was basically
I'm writing it down right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, there was a big movement to like, okay, read this book, and it will help you get to successful places, and it will help you sort of like envision your future and those kinds of things. So we both read the book, and then we both kind of decided that like, basically just we can get what we want and do what we want, and the money will come.
Right. That's the whole the
Yeah.
backbone of this book, right? Is this mentality that if you believe it, if you think it, that if you keep talking about it and saying it, that it will come. Well, the
Yeah.
problem is that the stores and the credit card companies didn't read the book. So
And they come.
yeah, so they come,
So they come.
And we found ourselves in a little bit of issues early in our marriage for that
Yeah.
reason and some others. But tell me a little bit about and you talk about a wealth partnership pathway.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get to is, okay, so
Sure.
you've had these discussions that Julie asked you about to sort of talk about the dreams, what people want, and their concerns about what's realistic. What do you do to get them on this path? And what is it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in the beginning, we do build that kind of awareness of where do they come from? Well, how do they look at money? And, what are their dreams? And sort of reigniting those again. We also have to identify the patterns. So that's part of the pathway. Identify the patterns that they have in their communication around money, and try to interrupt those. Try something new. Try to make shifts to make those conversations more powerful, more peaceful. And, we dig even deeper into their personal, like I mentioned, money wiring. So what is my natural inclination towards money? And what kind of emotional spending patterns do I have?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not necessarily your natural wiring, but it is how you respond under stress. That's your emotional spending
Mhm.
habits, your patterns under stress. And again, it's kind of all it's in an environment of emotional safety that we're trying to build where couples maybe haven't had that before.
Right.
So yeah, it helps that I'm there. And but they're learning how to have these conversations again and to feel safe again and through that curiosity learn more about, well, this is, I understand now why you do this, because this is, when you're under stress, this is your pattern. And then of course, we don't stop there. We have to move then into the numbers and we have to
Yeah.
move into the systems. But we do have to create enough emotional safety that we can actually look at the numbers and that we can actually work on systems. And the timing is tricky
Yeah.
with that. It
It
depends
seems
on
like
what
it
they're
would be. Yeah.
bringing in.
Yeah, in what way, when you say the timing is tricky, in what
Uh-huh.
way? What do you
There
mean by
has to
that?
be enough emotional safety to be able to actually look at numbers together without a fight and be able to
Mhm.
talk it through.
Mm.
There has to be enough openness and cooperation to be able to bring in strategies and systems. Sometimes those practical systems, and I'm just talking about like tracking cash flow. What accounts do we have set up? How do we automate these things? What are our roles? Those are some of the things that I'm talking about. It just scratches the surface. But sometimes we have to bring in those sooner because there needs to be, or there hasn't been transparency in the past.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we're actually tracking the numbers, I don't know what you're doing over there. And I have this terrible feeling that money is flying out the window. I need to know what's going on. I can't have secrets.
Mm.
So that's why I say it's tricky. It kind of depends on what we're dealing with. If the relationship is so volatile at the beginning, there's been shut down, it's just nearly impossible to talk about money. Well, then we do have to just focus on the relational dynamics first.
Yeah, as soon as
And then
you
bring
run
that in.
into a fair amount of defensiveness, right, from one or both of the
Yeah.
partners in
Yeah.
terms of whether it's spending or what may have happened in the past or what they want to do down the road, right? How do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
How do you deal with that
Yeah.
defensiveness?
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring it up because yes, I actually use and I know you're aware of this, of the Gottman.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
Gottman trained. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. I'm working on that level 1 and 2. The horsemen are so helpful. It's a
Mhm.
helpful language that we can share and that couples can share and helps them identify when that defensiveness comes up, which is one of the horsemen.
Mhm.
Tell
It's
us about,
called.
I don't
Yeah.
want you to give the whole class, but tell
Yeah,
the
right.
folks out there, when you're talking about the horsemen, and Julie and I have
Mhm.
read, and she's trained, I just have read.
Yeah.
What is that? What are they, number one? And what's the import, the impact in these financial types of discussions and getting folks on this pathway that you talk about?
Yeah, it's crazy that they're there, right? But they're with conversations with money just like they are with everything else. So criticism is considered the
Hmm.
first one. You don't think of these as happening in order necessarily. The second one is called contempt. And that is criticism on steroids. So you've gotten to kind of a moral superiority, rolling eyes, sarcasm, that kind of thing. Very hurtful. Yeah. Defensiveness. And, defensiveness is going to raise its head if there's any criticism. And of course, if there's contempt. And then final shutdown, which is actually called stonewalling in the Gottman language. So on that pathway, we
Mhm.
use that language to sort of
Mhm.
have that common language and be able to see, oh my gosh, that I just did that. That was
Right.
defensiveness.
Hmm.
And then we
Mhm.
can just that awareness can kind of
Mhm.
help you shift. But I think in answer to a question like how do you deal with defensiveness, Yeah, it does start with that attitude of curiosity,
Mhm.
having regular money conversations that aren't heavy. They're just light. You're just exercising, you
Like
know?
micro
Yeah,
conversations.
Yes.
it's
Micro,
Yes.
funny.
I
yeah.
think you have some of those in your book, don't
Yes,
you?
We
yes,
The
do.
money
micro
course.
conversations,
I love
micro
it. I love
repair
it.
sessions, micro, because we can do
Yes.
things that are little, and then we kind of put our toe in, like, oh, we talked about money, we talked about a budget, and we didn't fight. Yeah,
I mean,
and
we've worked with folks, and I've represented clients in my divorce, my law
Yeah.
practice, in which, particularly older couples that are on the, in the gray side, in the 50s, 60s, and
Yeah.
beyond, where
Like me.
one of the partners, and traditionally that has been the female, at least at that age bracket, it just says to me, I never paid attention to any of that, and that was his job, and
Yeah.
how was I supposed to know, and what was I supposed to do? I did my job and he did his, so I don't really know, kind of a thing. And so it sounds to me like part of what you're doing is creating this environment, this safe environment for people to learn.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, studies show when there's cooperation and a partnership, like a real team, not just one taking care of it all, net worth is higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So absolutely. I guess that's why I use the word partnership a lot. I like it. Team I use too, but I just think it's awesome to be able to develop that. And I've seen so many sad stories too, or seen, of women later on, they get, whether it's a divorce or loss of their husband in the situation that they might be in. It can be the opposite, but it's typically that, and maybe that will change over time. But
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask about some specific strategies because
okay.
that's like the meat of, people listening to this podcast. I want to know, like, like three or
Good.
four or five things that
Okay.
couples can do like right now. But before
Okay.
that, I want to just kind of talk about David and I's experience. We got ourselves The Secret, the book. We got ourselves in really
Stop
great
talking
debt.
about that book.
We got ourselves
I'll look it
in
up now.
really, in a good debt situation, like
Yep.
really
Okay.
good. And what we did was together, we got all of our bills and all of our debts, and we sat down and we had like the, come to Jesus talk. And we basically came clean with what we had in front of us. And
Yeah.
then we started to plan together how we were going to get out. And it was really hard. But if you asked us what has helped our relationship or what has made us stronger, I think the two things that I would say would be, navigating having a child with mental health and addiction issues, number one. Number two would probably be the financial, issue of like getting out of debt and getting back in a place. And then the third thing would be infertility issues. Those would be like my three
Mm.
things of what
Mhm.
was hard, but what also connected us.
Yeah.
So I think,
Good.
if you can get couples to do the work, they usually come out stronger in the end. Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I would absolutely agree with
Yeah.
that. I get to see that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, and
that.
it's a beautiful thing, but I love the other examples that you brought up. But that is really special that the two of you grew closer together because of the money issues that you had to deal with. It doesn't always go that way. It can be unless you must have found some good ways to navigate that. And I'm happy that you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that we were really lucky with, being able to communicate. So good communication skills. We didn't do a lot of blaming,
Yeah.
which I think was
Okay.
very helpful. And honestly, like we both have professions and income, and that was very helpful. And we didn't
Sure.
take that for granted. Like I could say, okay, I need to work a little bit more, hours. You need to, try to take some more cases on or whatever. And so I think we were very lucky in a lot of ways to be able to get out of the debt that we put ourselves into.
Yeah.
Oh,
Before you ask her
oh
about the
yeah, before
three or
the
four strategies,
yeah.
I have an overall
Okay.
strategic and a planning question, and that is, a s how can this sort of alignment, right? This sort of getting on the same path. How have you seen that impact couples' wealth, their retirement plan, their decisions about their kids' college, and those types of things.
When you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is the biggest impact I've seen is just stress, health,
Yeah.
getting on that path, and the strength of their relationship. I mean, being able to enjoy their relationship and enjoy their family. I think a part of that is aligning with values. And that's part of the work we do too, is to dig in and reconsider with fresh eyes. Well, what is really important to me in life? That's got to be part of a money conversation, because we make choices rather than just doing what everybody says around us. And we're like, oh, yeah, well, that must be my value. So really reevaluating those values and getting aligned with that and making intentional choices with how we handle our money, based on that, based on the kind of lifestyle that you want. But sometimes we don't stop to ask those questions, those really important questions. So I got going off on that, and I
That's
can't
okay.
remember the question and whether it was
No, I
really
think
related to that or
yeah,
not.
you sort of answered it, but
Did I?
which gets me to one follow up, and then I want to
Okay.
get to Julie's,
Okay.
what everybody
Sound
a couple of sound bites. But
Yeah.
in your work with couples, do you sometimes bring in other professionals, like a financial planner to help? Okay, we've got our we know, so you've worked with these folks to get them on the same path. This is what their plans and their goals are. Now we got to take this pot of money or what we're going to earn or what we have, and we want to apply it. Is that something that you work with people to do, or do you bring someone in to sort of help navigate that part of it? We invest in
Yeah.
AT&T or Verizon or whatever the heck.
Yeah. Yes and yes.
Okay.
I guess it depends. I'm kind of glad you asked the question, because I do like the higher level of financial planning, and I'm really quite passionate about empowering people to manage their finances on their own if they are interested. Um, Now, I have sent people to a financial planner, financial advisor, because it was the right thing for them. And it's the right thing for them sometimes if they would respond to the market emotionally, right? It would be better to have, if they're getting close to retirement and there's more complexity and tax strategies to look at. But a lot of people, their main retirement vehicle, for growing wealth, there's lots of layers before that, but is their employer sponsored plan. And they can manage that on their own, but they don't understand the language, investing language. They don't understand how it works, what all those crazy things mean, and so forth. So, yes, when it's time, I talk to them about that and
Gotcha.
educate. I love educating in that area. When it's right for someone to get connected with a financial advisor, I have connected them with that.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's get to the top two takeaways. If you could
Okay.
tell these folks, here's what I want you to remember from this discussion. Give us two.
Ooh, I think one would be compassionate towards yourself and your partner, because there are reasons why you think of things differently, look at it differently. And please start with curiosity. I have, 52 for every week, conversation starter on money, and just start having some conversations where you can be curious and don't judge. That would be one of the first things I would say, just to make that shift and start and not be so scared, and to start to make a connection in a positive way in the money world. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Love that.
I know that you have this Wealth Talk guide, and if folks want to get a hold of that, want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, everything lives on my website. So it's DeeZimmermanFinance.com, and that's just the letter D. Didn't need two E's in that. And and if they really just want to get started in an easy way, there's a quiz they can take. It's called the Money Talks Quiz. So they could identify the kind of communication pattern that they have with one another around money, and just get a better understanding of what's really happening.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me when people bring a different perspective to a particular topic or a particular area.
Right.
And when most of us think about money, we think about numbers. And you started out this discussion, and I think have hammered home for me, and I hope for the folks that are listening, is that it's not just numbers. There's a lot more that goes into it when you're in a relationship, when you're in a marriage, when you're in a couple. And you've been wonderful. We are so happy to have had you there, folks. We will have all of Dee's information in our show notes. Please listen, pay attention, give her a shout, because these are hard discussions. So give Dee Zimmerman a call. Thanks again, everyone. This is David and Julie Bulitt. We are the Bullitts, TheBullitts, on all major social media platforms. And this is Conversations for Couples,
the podcast.
Julie Bulitt is a professionally licensed clinical social worker and family therapist. David Bulitt is a divorce and family lawyer. Julie is not your therapist, and David is not your lawyer. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only.